there, my name's Lara and I'm excited to be here today to welcome you to Code Like a Girl's Coffee and Code session. Today we're joined by two incredible women in tech, both coming from Shine Solutions, to talk to us about their experiences in the tech industry. Thanks for joining us today, ladies. You're welcome. These Coffee and Code sessions are a chance for us to take a break, to grab our drink of choice, sit down together and just have a chat, really. We want to talk about topics we're passionate about, meet other inspiring young professionals, and generally just get inspired from each other, learn from one another, and encourage other women to get into this space. So thanks again for joining us. We've got Pegah, a full stack engineer, and Dutt, a graduate software engineer, both from Shine Solutions. I should probably introduce myself as well. I'm a UX and front-end designer. I've been working in the industry for about 10 years. So I've worked at agencies, non-for-profits, I've freelanced even, and now I'm lucky enough to be a part of the Code Like a Girl team. So I might hand it over to Pegah. We might start with you. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you enter into the tech industry? What's your background? Things like that.
Yeah, first of all, I forgot my drink, but that's okay. I cannot. So my name is Pegah. I come from Iran. I'm 27 years old and 7, 8, doesn't matter. And I've been in the industry for more than 4 years now. And in the beginning, I first studied in the university electrical engineering, major electronics. But then at the end, it was not something, it wasn't satisfying me. I didn't like the job that much. I was pretty good at math and physics and stuff, but job-wise, I didn't enjoy it that much. And then I took a course of advanced programming the last semester of the uni, and that got my attention. I was like, this is really cool. I like it. So after I was graduated, I started applying for jobs with my very limited experience in programming. But fortunately, I was lucky to get hired by one of the best companies back home. It was before me coming and immigrating to Australia. And so I worked there for 2 years as a backend developer. And then when I came here to Australia, I again started as a backend developer with Shine. But then slowly I moved towards front end as well. So now I am a full stack engineer.
Great, cool. That's so interesting. So you went from studying to straight into the workforce.
Yes, pretty much. Yeah. Well, that's the way it works in our country. You really don't have the opportunity to go travel around and these sort of things. You gotta find a job.
Well, maybe you can travel later after having
yeah.
Dutt, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So yeah, hi, my name is Dutt and currently I'm working at Shine as graduate engineer. So I started my IT journey from studying. So I started my diploma in IT and I always wanted to do in IT. Like I didn't know what exactly goes, what roles are there in IT industry. But the only thing I knew is like I wanted to do something in this like field. So I did my diploma, then I did my bachelor's, then I started working as obviously a graduate engineer back in my country, India. I worked there for like 6-7 months and then I realized like I want to learn more. I want to study more and I want to do my master's. And then I ended up in Australia in RMIT. I did my master's there, and then as a part of like final year project, we had something we call work integrated learning, and there Shine was our project company. We did project with Shine for 6 months, and yeah, eventually they ended up giving me an offer to work as a graduate engineer in Shine, and I accepted it because it's a great company to work with. And yeah, since then it's been 9 months I'm working as a graduate engineer, and yeah, so far that's the journey. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool as well. You both sound like you come from maths kind of background, so you both interested in like engineering from the get-go. That's so interesting. I came from like more of a creative artsy sort of background, and I always felt like I wanted to do coding, but I wasn't sure. And then also being like one of the only women in the industry as well, like I always at the beginning felt like I was surrounded by only men. Did you find that as well?
When I came here for the classes, so back in India, we'll just have like 50 people in the class, but here there'll be like 100 people, 150 people. If you sit in a class and if you look around, there'll be definitely 80% of the class would be like men. I'm not talking about the faculties, but if you see in terms of students as well, so there are definitely more guys in this industry than girls, even if you look at the faculties. So that's the first impression I had when you look around the classes and even if in the company. So yeah, definitely that's the thing. There are less women in tech world than men. That's true. Yeah.
Do you find that as well, Pegah?
Yeah, especially when I was so the way where I come from, it works is that you do a test, a big test for like 4 hours, and based on that you will get a ranking. Based on ranking, you can you can choose the major and also the university that you want. So there's always these top majors and fields in engineering, which is electrical, computer science, civil engineering, these sort of things. So you need to have a good ranking in order to be able to go for them. And the idea is always like some of these, like especially for electrical engineering, it's a man thing to do. Like when they say, are you sure? Like, do you want to go for something a little bit simpler? Blah blah blah. But then I was like, no, I'm really good at math and physics. I want to give it a try. And then when I entered university the first day, I remember we were 150 people of electrical engineering that year, and it was only 30 girls and the rest all boys, 120 boys. So there was classes that it was just maybe 60 people in that class and 2 of them girls, the rest were just boys. So it was dominated by boys. But to be honest, when you get into it, especially after a few years, but even when it gets to practical stuff, there is really no difference. Like being a man doesn't give you any advantage in this. And this, I'm just talking about this major. There might be some majors, maybe being a woman or being a man give advantage. I don't know about them. I don't think that's true, but I'm just talking about this one. Really, because it's mostly just studying and working with your laptop, designing stuff, even the experiments, working with boards, and I didn't understand it at that point. Why is it so dominated by men? And I think it's just a society that tries to push men into these sort of majors and women to some other majors. I also faced that, but it wasn't too bad in the university in terms of like you get discriminated or something like that just being as a girl. It was actually kind of an advantage. Everyone was trying to support you, like that mentality was also there, like that there's not that many women, so we got to support them. And then after that I moved to IT, and the difference was not as bad as electrical engineer, but there was still difference. Not in terms of workforce, to be honest. Where I come from, I've noticed that in Australia there's a huge gap. Like most of the employees in tech industry are men, but back home it wasn't like that. It was 50-50, but you could see that it was mostly men that were in the higher positions. Like it felt like if you're a woman, no matter how much experience you had, you're never going to reach some of the levels. Of course, there are exceptions. I'm just talking about the majority.
Did you feel that at the beginning when you like were first entering the workforce, or do you still feel that now?
At the first, I didn't really, because I was just a graduate engineer. Like I wasn't looking to get into higher positions, or like that was not my expectation. My whole expectation, I just want to learn everything that I can. And then gradually, when I spend more time in this industry, also by coming to Australia, I saw that it could be the case. but it's mostly the case. Of course, there's always companies that make that exception. Shine Solution is one of them. You can see women in good positions even in this company. There's always different, of course, environment and in different companies, but unfortunately that's still the case when you talk about majority, you know. No company is going to be closed, we're not going to hire women, absolutely not, it's not like that, but you know, there's still some layers that you will see when you get into it.
Yeah, and I've definitely felt like both sides of the coin, like you say. Like I have felt at times like I'm in a very male dominated world in my career, and feeling, I guess, a little bit intimidated by that, and feeling like maybe I don't fit in. But then I have felt the opposite, that like within certain groups, in certain communities, like Code Like a Girl, for example, and it sounds like Shine Solutions as well, you do find that being a woman, they lift you up and support you, and encourage you to be a part of that that male dominated world, I guess, to have an even playing field. I remember when I was first starting out, I was placed in a leadership position as a woman in a team full of male developers, and it was already a pretty daunting thing because I was quite young and I was managing, I guess, a group of guys, and then I felt like they didn't quite, it didn't go down very well. I think like I wasn't really supported in that environment. There are times when that might happen in your career, and I feel like it sounds like with these new, like in more recent times, it's improving, I guess, like with communities where you might come up against adversity, but it's changing. It is still quite a patriarchal profession, though I feel like with women kind of supporting each other and lifting each other up, you will find those workplaces that encourage you to rise above, I guess, and there's workplaces that are remarkably progressive, so you can seek them out, and inclusive environments as well. So if anyone is feeling like that, I guess look around a little bit, you might find.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
What about you, Dutt? Did you always grow up, did you have any role models that you looked up to, or did you find that were you in a male dominated space as well?
Yeah, it's always like, as I told you before, like when we were in the uni, there are obviously less girls. So whenever you'll be assigning to any project or anything, it ends up that you are the only girl in the group, or you are the only female, and the other are male group mates or something. So whenever you're working with them, it's always like you have to take, I think, few extra efforts, and you have to always like tell them, no, I can do that and stuff like that. So it's always like that. You have to always, it feels like you have to always kind of like prove yourself that you can do it. And for like all of your male group mates, it's always like acceptable, like they know the things, they know how to do the things. And for us, it's like kind of, you have to go and tell them or do that and show that, like, yeah, you can also do that. And one more thing, like I was reading the studies about this thing, why there are like less women in this field and stuff. So the first thing that came up is like, since we don't have female role models in this field. So whenever you look for the role models for any industry, specifically for the IT, it's always like Bill Gates or Steve Jobs or Sundar Pichai. There are not more female role models that we can look up to, and to see their progress and things like that. So yeah, it in that sense, it feels that, yeah.
I wanted to add a note to this, what Dot said, that it always feels like we need to prove prove ourselves. I wanted to say in the beginning, for me, it was also hard. Like, why should I prove myself? You know, I've gone to the same university, I studied the same thing, but it's not as simple as that. I think when I look at it a little bit more, it's like, that is true. We need to prove ourselves, but it's because women have come to not just tech industry, in any kind of workforce quite recently. It's not something that has been there in human history. In human history, it's always been men, and it's been women having the responsibility of home, taking care of the kids. I wanted to bring up an example, which is the other way around. For men, they need to prove themselves. In my country, it's always women taking care of the kids, managing home and etc. And when, for example, lady wants to go out and have fun, says, okay, what am I going to do with the kid? Give it to the dad. No, I don't trust them. It's as simple. The man needs to prove himself, because they've never had that role. So it will be scary. There's not going to be trust. It's an example to look at from the other way around, from another perspective. So I think it's the same for us being in the industry. It takes some time for us to prove ourselves and show them. We cannot just expect them, hey, here we are, accept us the way we are. I think it's a natural process that can happen in this scenario. It's happening for women, that women need to prove themselves. And I think gradually it's being shown, like 100 years ago, 50 years ago, when could you see that women will get this supported this much? But now everyone knows that women are capable as men. But like I said, it's just, there's no company that say we prefer not to hire women. It's like, okay, do we want to promote women to higher position? That's the thing that we are working at, and for that there is some extra work to be done, because I think women have proved that they can be a good workforce, of course, but can they be as good as men when you give them a bigger responsibility that history-wise they've never had?
Yeah, you're right. It's been set in stone from history, like in all sorts of areas, and it does go both sides, like you say. I guess it can be intimidating to be a minority in any field, whether it's like homemaking or tech. What advice would you give to young sort of budding coders, I guess, or who might feel like a minority in this space, who might be worried about this?
I would say don't care. That's my biggest advice. You always need to, if you want to always keep listening to what society is telling, which is not necessarily the truth. In this case, for example, you're always going to be limited by what society is putting on you. I think for women, it's not just for women, it's for everyone who has a goal. For us in this topic, it's women that wants to reach a high position, to a good position in tech industry. And there's, of course, these stereotypes and stuff that is making it harder for them. That's, I don't want to say prevent it, but making it harder. Never stop trying, and always keep going, regardless of what everyone else is saying. Of course, always have an open ear for good feedbacks to improve. But if there is some situation that you're getting feedback, an unfair one, only because you're a woman, then that's the time that you need to actually close this. Like, come from here and out from there. That's what I've been doing. It's for everything that I wanted to do in my life. And there was always this stereotype that it's a man thing to do. I'm like, screw that. I'm not going to.
Well, with people like all of us, I guess, lifting each other up and like being present in the space, like that will start to change, I guess. Like if we encourage our female colleagues and stuff to rise into the ranks of the industry, then maybe we will get some of those female CEOs and stuff to look up to.
Absolutely. Gradually it's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's very true. You both mentioned as well that, you come from a maths sort of background, and I touched that I don't as much. And that's something that worried me at the beginning, feeling like, do I need to learn a lot of maths? Do I need to be really good at maths? What would you say to those who might be worried that they're not good at maths or less technically inclined? Do you feel like you have to be You said look like you were going to say something.
So the only thing, I don't have like a long career journey to give that much of knowledge, but so far as what I have learned is like IT, particularly tech world, is something where everything changes so quickly. So the only thing is, if you're willing to learn something, I don't think so your background does matter at all.
Mhm.
So I'll tell you the example. Like we had one guest lecturer coming for the subject of the software testing. So her background was nursing. Like she used to work, she was nurse in the hospital, and suddenly she realized like she wants to do IT, and she started learning like software testing, and she got the certification and all of the stuff, and now she was working in a really good company as like senior test lead or something, some position, and she was giving like a guest, she was a guest lecturer at RMIT, so it's a big thing in itself, right? So she was also telling the same thing, like if you're willing to learn something, I don't think so your background does matter.
Mhm.
Because for example, let's just say like you have the IT background, but you are not at all willing to learn new things, and you are not at all willing to do anything new, that is not going to help you. So I think the only thing helps in the tech world is like how ready you are to ask questions and how ready you are to learn new things. So I don't think that it matters, but it cannot be the barrier, it cannot be some reason to stop you to entering from the tech world. So I think, yeah, that's the only thing I would say.
I think for IT specifically, the last place that it will matter is just the uni and passing those exams. That's the last place that you use the
Yeah.
math and physics. When you come to coding, yeah, underneath level of it, it's all math, but you don't deal with it at all.
No, I
Absolutely not.
agree. Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head. I feel like I'm a little bit older, I think, than both of you. I'm about 33, and so high school was a very long time ago for me. I remember doing the most basic level maths in high school. I did like maths, but I kind of was like, oh, I didn't think I was going to get into the tech career. So I wasn't even thinking about it. And I was like, I just do the basic and I'll ace it. And that's how I'll get through it. And then I guess 10 years later, working in the tech space, I don't think I'd struggle to pass a basic level maths test because you don't really use a lot of it, I would say. But like, to credit both of what you said, like, yeah, you might do it at university. You might do an online course or something and I feel like you can learn everything now on the job as well. Like you don't need to have a really strong maths and physics background. You can learn, if it comes up, you can learn it as you go. Yeah, it doesn't need to be, you don't need to be a maths whiz.
No, you really don't need to, because especially in IT, everything underneath is one and zero. It's that binary language that you don't even deal with that, because there is all these high level languages that you just basically need to learn how to use those languages and their syntaxes. It has nothing to do with math and physics. To be honest, I am not using one line of my knowledge in the university in my job. It's just something, so I want to encourage anyone, any girl has even have art background, has a literature background, anything, especially for IT. Thanks to technology, we all have unlimited access to all these great resources in YouTube, online courses, blogs, a lot of blogs that
I'd like a girl has some online courses as well.
Exactly. So it's absolutely, if someone says that because I didn't go to university in math and this sort of, that's why I cannot become a developer, I would say, no, you're wrong. That's absolutely not true. So I would encourage everyone, no matter what's your background, if you are interested in it and you think it's cool, get into it. There are a lot of resources out there.
And I guess if you're more tech sort of more leaning towards tech than art, you might go into the back end sort of side of things. And if you're more like artistic, you might go into the front end side of things.
Exactly.
There's something for everyone.
Yeah, like a small example, my sister, she has studied economy and she was working in a bank. She didn't have that such a big background in math and this sort of stuff, but she never was interested in coding, but she wanted to get into IT industry. And then one thing that she got introduced to was UI UX designer, because it has that, it's in the tech industry, and you can have a lot of creativity, and also it's kind of like an art. It's really an art to play with those colors and shapes and everything to have a beautiful website or app or something.
That's how I got into it. I started in that space, and then I moved into coding, and now I kind of swing between the two. It's a nice little middle ground to be in.
Yeah.
So how did you both land your current job? So you're both with Shine Solutions. You're a full stack engineer, Pegah, and Dutt, you're a graduate. So how long have you been at Shine Solutions for?
So I have been in Shine for like 9 months now. Yeah. So when I started for the project, I was working on certain part which was like back end and testing. So I was not into much of like front end, and I have never generally done more of the front end things. But Shine is really good in terms of that. Like whenever we need any sort of training, they're always like ready to provide the training. So I started my job, and then I actually took training on Angular, and then I started doing like more of the front end as well. So now I kind of like know a little bit of everything, and I'm just figuring out. I'm on a phase, like that phase of tech career where I'm just figuring out like where exactly I want to go and where exactly I'm good at. But yeah, Shine is really good in that sense. They'll teach you the things whatever you want. So yeah, that's how.
It sounds like it's all still really fresh and full of anticipation. Like you're still learning where you might like to go, and what is it that you have learned to seek out when you're looking for a new job? Are there certain things you look for?
Yeah, I think whenever I look for the job, I think now, before it was like more of the role I used to look at, like what is the role like, what are the technologies I'm going to work at and stuff. But now, since like I have a few experiences and then stuff like that, what I look for is particularly how the company's values, like how good they are in terms of wherever you want to learn something. Or one more also thing I look is like how many women are there in their board and directors thing, like who is the CEO, how many tech leads they have who are female, and how many female staff they have, because that sort of things matters a lot. If they have quite a few number of female staff, lead tech positions which are filled by the woman, then it's more likely that you'll be heard, you'll be understood by the company, and there'll be people who'll understand your situation. So I think these are the things I'll look now if I want to go ahead and apply for the another job. Yeah.
What about you, Pegah? Is that the similar sort of things you look for?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was very lucky. I'm going to be honest, when I came to Australia, I didn't have any criteria for looking for a job as long as they pay me, because that's what you're looking for when you come. Like, you're not going to have a high standards of job. But I was really lucky. That first job that I found was such a great company, because I've seen a lot of also my friends that have been through the same journey. Usually their first job always take advantage of them. They don't underpay them and ask for a lot of work. Shine has been nothing like that. They've been very supportive in everything, especially during this whole pandemic and the lockdown. You could see the companies trying to keep with very small things they could do, like let's organize an online event, let's get people together, because they really had no idea what people are going through, but they knew that if people are not doing well, it's going to impact the work and also the efficiency and everything. So, and they made sure we have all the equipment. They always said, if you want a monitor or a chair or a desk, always just shout out, we're going to send it to you right away. And they did. It was a great company, and it's a great company, and especially with also what Dutt said, you always look for something. Now that I have standards for a company, it's not in the beginning when I moved. I always look to see how much opportunity is there to grow in that company. Of course, looking at how many female tech leads and stuff they have, it could give you a good idea how are you going to improve in that company. Also the technology and everything. Very recent example, I'm in that, so I've now have more than 4 years experience, so I'm something between mid-level and senior. So in order to reach that senior level, you got to be exposed to a lot of different technologies, expand your knowledge and experience working with different people. And Shine has been great in terms of supporting moving people around. Like at first I joined as a backend, and then there was an opportunity for Angular development, and I was like, hey, I want to learn front end, and they moved me to the Angular, although I didn't know anything. I basically started learning by reading other people's codes and see how they do it. And then after that, after 2 years, I was like, I'm bored again. I want to learn React. And then just this week, they moved me to another role with React and all the technology that I wanted. So it's a great company in terms of if you want an opportunity, they will provide it for you.
How do you kind of know which areas you want to go into? Is it just the projects that you're working on at your workplace, or is it that you're kind of keeping up to date with the new technologies and reading about them online?
It's both. It's a mix of both. For example, I gradually, when you work, you will feel some of the areas that you're like, I don't have enough knowledge in that, and am I interested in that area? If yes, I want to work towards. I want to get into that area and learn a little bit about it. A very simple example: I was designing a migration project, and for that, in order for the design decision should be made, was required a lot of AWS knowledge, and I didn't have that. I never worked on AWS just for using it, not anything implementing on it or designing it. And then I was like, it's interesting. It's also a very new technology, and it's very important. A lot of new services, and there's no company that are not using that service. So it's important as a developer, as an engineer, to have even if you don't want to become a cloud engineer, but have a basic knowledge of it. So then I asked them, I'd like to move towards that area, because in the future, I imagine when someone is really good at that, it's going to be, for example, an architecture designer. And that's something that I like it. And that's when you figure out, okay, what are the stuff that you like and you want to experience them. For example, why I moved to React, it's because I worked with Angular, but I've heard from a lot of people that have worked with both. The majority of them, of course, not all of them, preferred React over Angular. So I was like, if one day I'm going to have my own website, I'm going to write it in React. So it's going to be a great opportunity if I start learning it in my job. So that's how you usually get into it, to see what is the most common used tools, and also what areas you're interested in.
It sounds like you have a really supportive team, I guess. Like, I'm imagining that you see that you would like to learn Angular or React or whichever new technology you're talking about. And then how do you go about, you've got this job already, you've got this position. How do you go about taking that next step to learn the next thing? Do you approach your team?
Yeah. Specifically, Shine has a structure that there are layers of people that you report to, and the first layer is called a people lead. So that's the person that is responsible to make sure you're happy with work. They're going to have regular coffee catch-ups. These days virtual coffee catch-ups. It's not the actual coffee catch-up, but they make sure if you are interested in a technology, so they're the person to bring it up, raise it with people in higher positions to make some arrangement. Of course, it's not something that is going to be done in a week. Like, I want to learn this. Okay, next week. It might take a few months, which is basically the same thing. Even if you want to switch a job and your company, you still need to go through the interview process, blah, blah, blah. And if you don't have, sometimes when you don't have any experience in that new area, the company might not even hire you, which kind of makes sense. But in a Shine and the consultancy, it's like, even in the technologies you have experience, you've shown your capabilities and your abilities, you've proven yourself that if it's a new technology, I know I don't have knowledge in it, but I'll pick it up quickly.
Mm.
So those people, will support you, will talk to other teams in that client that you're at, or maybe other clients to find, okay, where are the vacancies that we have that has the technology stack that she or he is interested in.
It sounds like the lesson there is to surround yourself with a community or a team or a workplace that's really supportive and going to help you achieve your dreams, I guess, and encourage you and learn together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I can agree with that too.
So good. Well, we're almost out of time, ladies. I guess, is there anything that's pressing that you wanted to get off your chest?
I wanted to mention something. It's I really like the name of the company or organization. I'm not sure which one I should call it, that you work for, called Like a Girl.
Yeah.
It's beautiful because from a personal experience, I wanted to say sometimes in these male-dominated area, whether it's workforce, whether it's a hobby, it could be a little bit intimidating you as a woman to be able to get into it. And sometimes there's going to be misunderstanding that if you want to be good at it, you got to be like men in order to be good at it. And a personal experience that I wanted to say is, like, I wanted to get into a hobby that it's not girlish. If people put it that way, it's kind of like man-ish, like boys are better at it, they're stronger. And in the beginning, when I got into it, I kind of lost my feminine side. I was like, okay, if I want to be good at this, I need to be like a man, be like a boy, strong, and after a while, and then I was like, oh, this doesn't feel good. Although you're getting good at that hobby or whatever, but it's not necessarily dependent on being like the dominant gender in that area. And you can be perfect, you can be great and good at something. Doesn't matter what gender you are, you just need to, there might be some limitation because of our physics and biology. Sometimes it will make it harder, not impossible, just make it a little bit harder, but we should do it really like a girl, not like a man.
That's such a beautiful sentiment, Pegah, that I think I 100% agree. And it sounds like Dutt's agreeing as well. I feel like you've got to be true to yourself, and you don't necessarily need to take on the personality traits of the big burly testosterone thing to get something done. That's it. You can do it in your own way. And I think that goes for any job and any space and anything you're looking at. Well, I guess for women in tech, self-doubt and the feeling that we don't belong in a male-dominated space can be even more pronounced, I guess, because it's so male-dominated. But having strong role models like yourselves, surrounding yourself with a really supportive community, will help others break into this challenging space, I guess. So thanks so much to both of you for coming today and chatting with me. It's been really wonderful to get to know you both a little bit more, and and looking forward to seeing where you go in your careers.
Thanks for inviting and arranging this. It's really, really good experience. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for having us today.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks both of you.